iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. That's right. Let's get to it. It is another fantasy preview in a nutshell. And today we are doing those Atlanta Falcons. The Super Bowl runner-up. Arguably could have been the Super Bowl champion. Maybe if they went to Devonta Freeman a little more. Maybe if the offense didn't implode in the second half. Maybe if the defense played a little better in the second half. The Falcons could have, and should have, arguably, been the Super Bowl champions. So, something about the Falcons last year. Orlando Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution comes on our show a lot. And he's a great guy. And I remember specifically, before the season started, I was very down on the Falcons. Very down on the Falcons. And I said, Orlando, dude, I'm thinking they could be going 4-12. He's like, Dr. Roto, I was thinking 3-13. So what does this tell you? It tells you that even the man who covers the team for a living and a guy who covers fantasy football for a living can be wrong. I was as wrong about the Falcons as I possibly could be. Absolutely. And I think a lot of that started with Matt Ryan, who overachieved in the largest way possible. 4,944 yards, 38 touchdowns. So let me break it to you this way. We were in Vegas last year. I'd have to look at every draft board, and I know that Scott Atkins would have this information, and I don't readily available. But I would think that Matt Ryan went later than the 13th round in almost every single draft. He was going in rounds 15, 16, 14, 17. I mean, he was all over the place. He was a guy that you took as maybe your late quarterback if you waited, right? And I have no problem with that. So if you owned Matt Ryan last year, there was a very, very, very good chance you were in the fantasy football playoffs. Maybe you won your league, maybe you didn't, but you did pretty well because Matt Ryan was there. Do I think Matt Ryan continues doing what he did last year? No. I don't. I mean, that's when we look at it and we go career year. I mean, think of it this way. I'm going to give you his numbers, and I want you to be blown away by something. 615, 651, 628, 614, 534. Those were his attempts. Last year were the fewest attempts that he had in the last 5 years. He had the fewest completions, the fewest attempts, but the most yards. That is a prolific, high-powered offense. That rarely happens a second time in a row, especially in the NFL. That's going to be tough to recreate. So I want you to take Matt Ryan's numbers, and I want you to lop off 15%. So 4,944 times 85 is 4,200. Maybe he should be a little better than that, but I'm going to take off 15%. 38 touchdowns times 0.85, I'm going to get 32. So I'm going to go in this year thinking Matt Ryan is going to get 4,200 yards and 32 touchdowns. That is a reasonable assumption. Could he do better? Yes. But I need a 15% discount from last year's numbers. The dude only threw 7 interceptions, 38 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards, and had fewer completions in the last 5 since 2012. Come on. Seriously, come on. Kyle Shanahan is gone. He's in San Francisco now. Steve Sarkisian is there, and I like Steve Sarkisian. He's had his demons, don't get me wrong, but this guy knows how to coach football. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator at USC. He gets it. Guy knows what he's doing. But am I all in on Matty Ice? No. Will I draft Matty Ice? Sure. But I'm not taking him as one of the top 5 quarterbacks. I'll wait. Okay? Now, nobody around him is different. I just don't know whether he could do what he did last year again, 2 years in a row. And it's what I call the Super Bowl hangover. You got there and you lost. And that kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. You don't feel good about yourself. Hard to get, because you were so close, hard to get back there. All right, at running back, I've got one guy I love and one guy might be my bust this year. The one guy I love is Devonta Freeman, okay? I just love this guy. Love him. Last year, he had fewer rushing attempts than he had in 2015, but he had more yards. Seems to be a running theme for this offense. But he had 54 receptions for 462 yards. So here's what I think happens this year. I think we see his rushing attempts drop even further, but I think we see the receptions go up. So I'm going to say about 215 to 220 carries and about 60 receptions. Okay? He's very hard to stop by the goal line because he's so small. You can't even find this guy. And he's strong as a horse. So, I mean, this guy is just a real tough guy to stop. You know, usually you get the big battering rams. But the big battering rams, you know where they are. You see them. Freeman, by the time you see him, he's already darted through that 1 yard and he scored a touchdown. So he's still going to get some touchdowns. I absolutely love Freeman late in the first round in a PPR league. If I'm picking 11, if I'm picking 12, I have no problems picking Devonta Freeman whatsoever. I think he's a great, great choice, and I highly recommend him. I am not as sold on Tevin Coleman. So let me explain to you why, and you may or may not agree with me. I don't dislike Tevin Coleman. I don't. In fact, I would argue that I like Tevin Coleman. But I start to wonder whether or not a team likes Tevin Coleman and the Falcons, and here's why. Brian Hill is a guy who 95% of you have never heard of. Brian Hill, yes, he was a basketball coach at one time, but he was also a very good running back from the University of Wyoming. Okay? What most people don't realize about Brian Hill was that he had a real nose for the end zone. He had 35 touchdowns in like 37 games. Okay? I mean, he was a beast. He was a beast. In 3 seasons in Wyoming, he had close to 4,300 yards. This guy is real deal. Okay? This guy is no joke. And I think people out there have no idea who he is, but that's why I'm Dr. Roto, and that's why you're listening to this podcast. Okay? By bringing in Hill, it says to me, is this team down on Coleman? I don't know. They might be. Because why, if you really liked him, why would you need Hill? Why would you need him? You wouldn't. You might just look elsewhere. But Coleman never seems to stay healthy. Played in 13 games last year. Played in 12 the year before. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that Coleman could bust a little for me. Look, you're not taking Freeman out of this offense. There's no way. He's too valuable. And what if Hill is as good as I think he might be? What if he is? If he's as good as I think he might be, and Freeman is not going anywhere, Coleman might lose a few carries. That said, I still like the player, but I can tell you this. With no malice in my heart, I will not have Tevin Coleman in any league this year. Because I just know when I look at the draft, I'm going to have to take him in the 5th or 6th round, and there are going to be other guys I like more. Right? I mean, he should get me 500 yards rushing, should get me like 300-400 yards receiving. That's all possible. Could get me double-digit touchdowns. That's possible. Do I feel in my bones that's going to happen? I don't know. I don't. So I think I'm going to end up passing on him and letting somebody else take Tevin Coleman. We all know that I have Roto children, and the original Roto child himself is Julio Jones Roto. The eldest in the family, the number one son, if you will, Julio Jones Roto. And I think it's interesting. I'm going to read you the last 3 years. In 2014, he had 104 receptions for 1,593 yards and 6 touchdowns. 2015, he had 136 receptions for 1,871 yards and 8 touchdowns. Last year, only 83 receptions for 1,409 yards and 6 touchdowns. So can you believe that in the last 3 years, he's only had 20 touchdowns? That's really not that high a number considering the talent that he has. And 83 receptions, not that many receptions because they added Sanu, because they had Gabriel, because they have Devonta Freeman. So I think Julio Jones-Roto will end up in the low 90s of receptions. I think that's a fair number, 90 to 96, somewhere there. I don't think he gets 100. I think he gets his 1,500 yards, but I need Julio Jones-Roto to get in the end zone 10 to 12 times. See, 12 more times is 36 more points. That's going to make up for his lack of receptions. He's still a top 3 wide receiver for sure. He's still somebody that I absolutely want out there at all times. So I'm in on him, but I'm just saying he's pretty darn great, but he's not perfect. Sarkisian has said he wants to get him more looks in the red zone. He's a huge dude. He's 6'3". He should be able to get whatever looks he wants, right? So let's make that happen there, Atlanta. I know fantasy owners would like to see that. My next guy for wide receiver is Mohamed Sanu. So here's the deal with Sanu. I would treat him like a handcuff to Julio Jones-Roto because I believe the following. On his own right, Sanu doesn't suck. He's going to get about 50 to 60 catches. He's going to get about 600 to 700 yards. Probably going to catch 4 to 5, 6 touchdowns. But could you imagine how good he'd be if Julio Jones-Roto was injured again? And Julio Jones-Roto does get injured. So if I take Julio Jones-Roto in round 1, starting around round 12, round 13, I might be looking for Mohamed Sanu just to cover myself as my 6th receiver. I have no problem with that. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Remember, it's okay to handcuff your receivers. Sanu is a very good route runner. He's pretty good in the red zone. I know he doesn't look it, but he is pretty good. He's still 6'2" himself. He's a good player. Don't overlook him. Don't overrate him because he's not that good, but don't overlook him at the same time. Okay. The third wide receiver that you need to know about on the Atlanta Falcons is none other than Taylor Gabriel. And when I think of Taylor Gabriel, I think about how bad the Cleveland Browns front office really is. Taylor Gabriel was with the Browns for a couple of years. In 2015, he had 28 receptions for 241 yards. So the Browns like, yeah, let's get rid of this guy. Goes to Atlanta, 35 receptions, 579 yards, and 6 touchdowns. One team knew how to use him, and one team didn't. Right? Why was he the big playmaker for the Falcons, and he wasn't for the Browns? Shame on you, Browns. You have to know better. You have to spot talent. If you don't spot talent, you lose the talent. You lose the talent, they go elsewhere, and they almost make it into the Super Bowl. I like Taylor Gabriel, but let's not go back to last year and think he's going to replicate that. I think he might do well, but I really like him in best ball formats. So best ball formats, as many as you know, right? That's when everybody plays, and whoever scores the most on your team, you get those points for the week. Taylor Gabriel can absolutely have a big week. He is capable of a big week, but he's also capable of doing nothing. Right? He's capable of doing nothing, but he should make one big play a week. And the weeks he does make a big play, 3 for 68 and a touchdown, 1 for 76 and a touchdown, 4 for 75 and 2 touchdowns, 3 for 82 and a touchdown, 3 for 60 and a touchdown. These are what he did last year, right? Boom, 3 for 60 and a touchdown. That's what, 15 points. You got a real shot to win that week. So he's very dangerous in a best ball league. And he's very dangerous as probably a 4th receiver, maybe a 5th receiver on a bye week. I love putting Taylor Gabriel into my lineup. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. Okay? At tight end, I got a guy. I got a guy for you. My guy here is none other than Austin Hooper. Now, Austin Hooper, when you look at his numbers from last year, they are not going to blow you away. In fact, you might be a little nauseous. He only had 19 receptions. He was a rookie. Okay? He's pretty darn good. He scored in the Super Bowl. Jacob Tamme not there. He flashed at certain points last year. In Green Bay, 5 for 41, 5 targets, 5 receptions. At Tampa Bay, 3 for 46 and a touchdown. At Oakland, 3 for 84. This guy has shown he can do it even as a rookie. Now, do I think that Austin Hooper is going to jump into the top 10 of tight ends? Maybe not, but he's going to get closer this year. I also look at this. Matt Ryan likes throwing to the tight end. Remember a guy named Tony Gonzalez? He caught a bunch of passes from Matt Ryan toward the end of his career. So I like quarterbacks who like throwing to their tight ends. Matt Ryan qualifies for that. Matt Ryan would throw to Jacob Tamme. He threw to Tololio, right? But Hooper's real deal, guys. So here's my idea with Hooper. Some people are going to jump on Jimmy Graham. Some are going to jump on Zach Ertz. Some are going to jump on Kyle Rudolph. They're going to take them in like round 7, 8, whatever. I might just sit back. and take Austin Hooper in round 10. I could see the draft unfolding for me that way. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay building, slot Hooper in round 10. So if I have 5 receivers, 3 running backs, a quarterback, and then I come in with Hooper, I'll be okay with that. I think I'll be okay with that. The kicker is Matt Bryant. He's like 1,000 years old, but here, let me give you 2 pieces of advice. He plays in a dome, and he plays on a good offense. Hello. 2 pieces of advice right there. That makes the guy very, very relevant for fantasy owners. And now finally, let's look at their playoff matchups. So this is pretty good. I think it doesn't get much better than this. Thursday, December 7th. I don't like a Thursday game, but they're home for that Thursday game. So Atlanta's home against New Orleans in Week 14. Week 15, they're at Tampa Bay on a Monday night. And then Week 16, they're at New Orleans again. Look, if I have to be at any team twice, New Orleans is a great one to be against. Their defense, sure, you could tell me it's getting better, right? You could tell me it's getting better, but it's still not that great. So there you have the Atlanta Falcons preview. It's a pretty good team, okay? Especially for fantasy purposes. But right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. I want you to go to playffwc.com, take a look at our draft lobby, join, be in one of our leagues. It could be a starter league, a draft and go, which is our best ball type league. It could be the online championship. It could be the fantasy football world championships, right? Be part of what we're doing where the best players play. There's no trading to screw up your league. We don't do that. There's no collusion in our leagues. We just give you the best payouts, the best customer service, and the best draft experience that you can find. I also want you to join scoutfantasy.com. Enter the promo code ROTO, that's ROTO. Pay for 1 month, we'll drop you 2 more months for free. That's how we roll at Scout Fantasy. We want you to be a member of the Scout Army. Be part of what we're doing and be a winner. All right, guys, back tomorrow with more. Have a great day. Be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!